What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Real Fans FC. And today is a very, very good day for us to record it. We were going to do it yesterday, but today ended up being the absolute perfect day. If you are in Miami, I'm sure you're celebrating outside with pans and pots, banging them down Calle Ocho and all over Dade County. And not even just Dade County, all of South Florida. But the day has finally came, the day we've waited for I don't even know how long, Adam. What, like 3-4 years? I don't know, like
Since club inception.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this moment, and the day has finally came. It feels like we won a championship, but if you guys haven't heard the news already and haven't seen the title or the thumbnail for whatever reason, Lionel Messi, World Cup champion of Argentina, is finally coming to Inter Miami and MLS, and today's a great day. Adam, what's your first impressions after seeing the news like this morning? How you feeling?
Wow, it was very, very. You know what? It's although it seemed like it was possible. You just kept hearing things that it's like, no, just because of this, it wouldn't happen. Not yet. Um, it's too early. This and that, and then, it kind of just starts coming out of nowhere. Um, with all the money that Saudi Arabia has been absolutely throwing around, might as well burning their money because it's insane. And yet he made the right decision. He wanted to stay relevant and bring some eyes to a big market. And
Start a business.
and
This
yeah,
is smooth.
and yeah, this is a major move. It's turning down, what's reported to be 500-ish $1 million to
A
go
year.
a year to go
A
to Saudi
year.
Arabia. I mean, that is just absolutely insane. But boy, oh boy, not just a victory for Inter Miami. I think it's a victory for American soccer as a whole.
No, yeah, this goes so. I mean, as much as the city's buzzing right now, I mean, this goes so much deeper than just Miami and Enter Miami. I mean, what this means for soccer in this country is just so huge. Like what it entails, like what the future's going to be. I mean, we saw the Beckham effect and what it did, and this is going to be that times honestly probably 100. And what Beckham did was pretty fucking insane. So to see like what he's going to do is propel it to a whole nother level. I mean, I saw something. It was like when Beckham came, there was 12 teams, a TV deal of $8 million a year, only once or two soccer specific stadiums. And then 10, 15 years later, we have 29 teams, 26 stadiums, a TV deal that's $250 million a year. Like, and that was since Beckham's inception. And now it almost makes you wonder what's entailed now that Messi's here and what the ramifications are going to be the next for the whole entire future. Honestly, I had a feeling coming into this decade, I was like, this decade is going to be such a huge,
Well,
important decade for
I had
soccer
I
in this
had the
country.
same I had the same thought especially because of the World Cup, coming up.
And I
I
thought it
think,
was just
and,
that.
and
Yeah.
you think about that, and let's be honest. There are certain milestones in American, I guess you could say, history at this point that contributed. There were big milestones where you said, okay, this is a big deal. This is taking soccer to a whole nother level in the country. And the first one was that World Cup in the 90s. Hosting the World Cup, you had FIFA basically saying, you guys need to create a league, like a real top level league. So you had the hosting of the World Cup, huge crowds in legendary stadiums, the Rose Bowl, and game in I don't know what they called it at the time, but in New York, New Jersey, wherever the Giants
Meadowlands.
played, the Meadowlands. Yeah, that's what they called it, right? Yeah, you're more up on that.
Yeah.
Um, but and then, yeah, so the league gets created, and that's amazing. And then the second major milestone was the Beckham's transfer. I think that was the what was the another huge milestone. And now we're getting another World Cup and a Beckham like transfer. This is what it feels like. The way that the eyes were on Beckham when he announced that he was coming to LA, this feels like that, if not bigger. So you have to imagine those being milestones for US soccer and how they grew. This is absolutely has to be another one, and we're going to see some serious growth coming very soon.
Well, I think what makes this so much bigger, one, in general, I think Messi's bigger, but we're also in this age of social media and everything. Like back in 2006, 2007, we're kind of hitting that dawn of like Facebook exiting MySpace, but things weren't really how it is now. And also too, soccer has grown more now. I mean, like having these teams throughout the country, having World Cup televised, being able to easily access like the Prem, Liga MX, like all the top 5 leagues in Europe easily through these streaming apps. It just
Yeah,
makes
people
things
forget.
so much more
Yeah, people
convenient. And it was
forget
so hard to watch that stuff back
how hard
then.
it was, and that's why you could talk all the shit you want to talk, but like it's not like I was watching Arsenal play every week when I was anywhere between 5 and 10 years old because you couldn't in this country,
Yeah.
until I was like maybe 12, 13. That's where you start to see like, okay, they have some of the big games, the big teams. But now you have
Honestly,
someone like NBC Sports who owns, the rights, and and you can watch any game, whether it be on TV or on Peacock or whatever. And same thing with Paramount and CBS with the Champions League. They're taking it to a whole nother level. And boy, oh boy, we started out this whole podcast on episode one, talking about Apple TV deal. Uh, they are looking smart right now, aren't
yeah,
they?
and I've always said Apple was a part of the bigger picture. I've always everybody was flaming Apple about why would you spend that much on a league that's not gonna produce,
Oh,
you're
I
never
didn't
gonna
care
get
about
that
that.
money
I
back.
just wanted them to implement it right. I didn't think it was a bad move. I was totally on board with you there. Did not think it
Yeah,
was a
my
bad
thing
move
was
at all.
always like
I thought that they were
my
thinking the bigger picture. My gripes were with glitches, minor things, and
yeah.
they have ironed them out. Like I really haven't noticed it as much. I'm sure if we're doing a side to side comparison, some of these broadcasts, especially in Europe with like the CBS guys for Champions League and the Premier League guys, like yeah, it is better. It is. But I mean, it's just you don't feel like you're missing out on anything anymore
Mm,
watching it on Apple TV. You might have
yeah, yeah.
they still got some weak commentary teams, but that'll change too because now with Messi, think about commentators who are like in high demand, and then Apple now has Messi and a lot of eyes watching, so they have the money to go out and build that team. So there's a lot of things here. There's a lot of
And this is
positives.
And I believe this is Apple deal. Like when I said, yeah, that's a long play. I always said like they're going to be a part. They knew something. Like they're part of like the Apple deal. I'm sure they brought up the Messi fact. Like I knew that was a part of it. And then also it was going to be a testing ground for whatever big venture they really wanted. But back to like Messi. Well, first too, I'll say what's helped grow is also too soccer specific facilities and stadiums, like having that like grassroots where you don't have to share and do all these things and do what you want. And now scheduling is no longer an issue. You don't have to worry with the TV stuff. So, and then Apple, I believe, is the only Apple MLS and Apple are the only fully global streaming service for a league. I think it's the only league partnership where the entire thing is globally on one platform because people in like England and Europe, they don't watch Prem games on NBC Sports, I mean, or
Yeah,
Peacock like we
correct,
do
correct.
here. So this Apple thing is going to be huge. It's going to be massive because I mean, I don't know if overseas they watch Champions League on Paramount Plus. I don't know if that's over there. I don't think a lot of the stuff that they have we don't have, and what we have they don't have. But like you said, like the eyeballs that are going to be on one stream, like one actual place, is going to be insane. Other than like before, everything's kind of split up. The World Cup is all on different channels. Every country's marked, but like Apple knew what they were doing, man. It's like, look, if we get, I don't know, I don't even know what a number would even realistic number would even be of how many people watch it. Like, I don't know, maybe 100 million. I don't like to watch Messi's debut game all on one stream. Like that is insane. That is ridiculous. So they knew what they were doing, but yeah, so I kind of want to transition to like because a lot of people are talking about Messi and all this stuff, but not very many people can actually talk about like Inter Miami at the moment because people know the name, they know the brand, they know Beckham, they know all this stuff, and I feel like with our knowledge of like watching almost every Inter Miami game since its inception, at least I've been pretty close to watching every game. I'm sure you've been pretty close to watching a large majority of the games. We have a good knowledge of like how we think he can fit in here. So I want to bounce it off to you. I guess for the people who don't know, how do you see Messi fitting into this like team from a tactical lineup roster kind of standpoint?
Well, it's definitely gonna depend on who they bring in. That's for sure, because the way the team is, and with the injuries and stuff like that, you would have to assume it's not just going to be Messi. Um, Someone else is going to come join him and want to come play with him, whether it be a Busquets or a Jordi Alba, or even hearing rumors of Luis Suarez. It's all going to depend. I think let's just assume now that we get to take Messi and put him into the squad right now. He's going to play that 10. He's going to be the creative outlet that we don't have. He would create chances for himself, and more importantly, he would create chances for other players, which I feel like is one of Inter Miami's biggest problems is chance creation. Um, I think that they do not create nearly enough chances, and the chances that they do create um, are not. Let's put it like this: not very high expected goals on the types of chances that they create. Um, and West Ham, oh my God, West Ham just scored a winner, 2-1 in the 90th minute. Wow, we were recording this live during conference league, and West Ham, it was 1-1, and in the 90th minute, West Ham just scored what appears to be a winner. Fiorentina manager is absolutely yelling right now, so something might be looked at, but I'll talk about that in a minute. That just caught my eye. Have to have
We'll
it
talk
on.
about that once we get
Yeah,
down
yeah,
though.
yeah. But yeah. So I think that he's definitely the creative. He needs to be very creative. In that creative role because that's what we're lacking. We saw what happened when we got a Pozuelo last year. Um, just being able to dribble and find those passes and link up with these players, it was such a huge help, and it reinvigorated Higuain. So I think he's going to be doing kind of that role. Also, we're going to get a handful of free kicks are going to be goals now because of him. I mean, he's absolutely incredible, with free kicks. I've seen him practice in an open practice for Barcelona where he and Neymar were just, one after another over a fake wall. And, it just was insane. They would not miss the top corner, just one after another. They did like 20 of them, and it's like all of them hit the top corner, all of them. It's insane. So you're going to get goals from that too. It's not talked about, but those are goals that are going to matter in a tight league, especially the way Inter Miami are doing right now. Um, they're behind. It is tight, but they need to start scoring some goals, start getting 3 points on the board, because I mean we you even see what happened. Not not that they have their own problems, but Toronto, they thought they were going to fix all these issues by getting all these big Italian midseason signings, and they just had such a rough start that even though they did improve, it wasn't enough. So we got to be careful of that, and not fall so deep into a hole that uh, that we can't get
Can't get
saved
out
this
of.
season, and it becomes a lost cause season even with all these signings.
Yeah, one of the big things for me is like so for kind of background for people who don't know, the midfield is very depleted for us. So our attack has remained pretty healthy. We've made some moves on the defensive line to really solidify that. And then we have probably one of the best keepers in the league, arguably the best keeper in the league. So defensively, I think we're pretty solid. I think our left back, Negri, can be kind of exposed at times because he's so committed to being forward and so committed to being attack minded that he gets kind of left it in the dust. And with MLS being a very heavy attacking league with a lot of the money going to the attack, we can get kind of exposed. But I think he will start to now play a more defensive role now that we have a true player who can go up there and create and provide that assistance, whether even scoring, but also feeding Joseph and Campana up top. And we all know Joseph, one of the most prolific scorers in MLS history. I think that he's going to completely change the way he plays forever. Um, and get back on track to what we saw old Joseph when he first came to Atlanta. And then as for Campana, I think Campana is a young talent who showed promise last year, and he's never truly had service through those times he's played, even that little bit that he had playing with Pozuelo as our 10. But throughout most of his goals scored, it was a lot of setup plays, crosses in, like kind of target striker moves. So having that guy in the midfield, we're still going to be depleted. We're slowly starting to get healthy, but our captain's injured, and Gregory, our another big TAM signing, and Gene Mota as our 8 is still injured. So, like I said, I think, like you said, there's still going to be moves. I don't think Messi's it. There's going to be more. There
Yeah,
has to be more.
there's no way.
And it's part of the reason why we're at the bottom of the table right now is just one, due to Phil Neville's tactics, I think just weren't good. I think this team is better than what they actually are in the standings. But then two, we suffered from injuries, which from our captain and our midfield, and our midfield's so depleted, we're dealing with academy players right now. So we're kind of hamstrung. So right now, I think, yeah, Messi's the start, but I think there's going to be more to come. I really do. And we can talk a little bit more about that in a second after we're done with this thought. But so I expect more signings, but how he slots into this, he in a league like MLS, I don't think, for those who don't really watch MLS is a very pacey league. Like it's very go, go, go. Not, it's very at a lot of athleticism that requires in this league. And what we've seen before, when you have these older European players that come over here to retire, quote unquote, they can't generally keep up. There's too many young players that are constantly moving, constantly going. We even heard it from players like Ricky Pooch, who come over here and he's like, he feels like he's running 5 more kilometers more a game. It's just, it requires so much more athleticism. So I don't think he can necessarily play in a wing in this league, but I think the 10 spot in a 4-4-2 diamond would be at the tip of the diamond is absolutely perfect with him. Having that combination with Campana and Joseph and him, it's just going to be, to me, I think is going to be one of the most deadly attacks in the league, if not the most deadliest attacks. Messi, to me, is not washed up. He still has so much talent and capability left in his game. I mean, he scored 20 goals and 20 assists. Even if he doesn't score, and that was with PSG,
and also just coming off a World Cup win. I mean, he was definitely instrumental in that.
Yeah, so I mean, even if he doesn't score a lot, the creativity and the through balls that he'll be able to provide to our 2 strikers up top is just going to be monumental. I think he's going to be an assist machine in this league. I think he's going to score goals. I think he can get close to 20. Based off what I'm predicting his position will be. I don't know. I mean, maybe they play him more up top and maybe play him as a second striker. Maybe they bounce Campana out and have him up with Joseph, or maybe bounce Joseph out and have him up with Campano, one of the two. But I think due to us not really having a 10 at the moment, he's going to slot in there. And I think they're probably going to run the 2 striker formation since we don't really have wingers. We've kind of set up this team to play around 2 strikers and have dual 8s and a 10. So I think he's going to slot in there perfectly. I think it's going to do extremely well in the attack. But they still need firepower in the midfield. Our backup 6 that came in to replace our captain is now has hamstring tightness and had to get out of
Yeah,
the game. So that's super
noticed
depleted.
that
So
too.
that's where a lot of the Busquets talks is coming from. Um, but yeah, look, Messi doesn't fix the team, but he does. Even if we say we add no other players, I think no matter what, we become a playoff team. This is a
Yeah.
guy
Oh,
who had a goal, who had 1 to 2 goal contributions a game at PSG. I guarantee you he's going to double that here in the MLS. Our scoring is going to go through the roof, not just from him, but what he's going to provide for Joseph and Campana, relieving the pressure off of both of those guys and being able to feed them the ball. And then, like you said too, we don't have a free kick specialist on this team. We don't have a guy who can go in there and take free kicks outside the box. And now we have probably one of the best players to do it
oh,
in our
yeah,
generation.
absolutely.
Like one of the best players in our generation who can do it. So yeah, I think this is a playoff team, and you better you better make sure you get Messi in the playoffs at the end of the day. So yeah, that's how I think how he kind of fits into this. I think, like I said, even though we're at the bottom of the table, I think we're better than what we are. But we are still depleted in the midfield, and I think we're going to amplify that more. We're going to
Yeah, I think that's a
increase that
priority
room
for us.
more. It is a priority. I think we need to 8 big time. I think
Hmm.
Messi is now here. It's official. There needs to be an 8. There has to be a high quality 8 who can slot in. I'm curious to see how what they do with the Pizarro situation. I think my guess, you just buy out Pizarro, you get him out. That rule is now in place. They implemented this year. MLS said you can buy out players in the summer transfer window. I think it's pretty much a given that Pizarro is going to get bought out.
Yep,
I mean, you have to.
100%. Yep.
You got to clear him out. You got to get rid of him and free up that DP spot. You're going to buy down Gregory's contract. Now Messi and Campana are going to be your 2 DPs. That leaves you with one more spot open for. Look, I don't want to see Busquets, but it sounds like that might be the case. But I'd rather get a younger player who can actually keep up with the pace, because if Busquets just does not. After talking about how Messi can't play in the wing in this league, Busquets cannot play in this league. We've seen it with Blaise Matuidi. Blaise Matuidi came from Juve over here, and it's going to be a Blaise Matuidi situation all over again. He
Yeah,
couldn't keep
and
up.
for
He was gassed. He was tired. And at the end of the day, as much as people dog on this league from Europe, and even here, at the end of the day, it's a league that rewards athleticism. You're going to run a
yes,
lot in this league. And we already seen Busquets just absolutely slow as molasses out there during the Champions
yeah.
League, during La Liga. He's a dinosaur out there, man. Like
Yeah,
even
and
in
from what I,
Europa League,
from,
he's
from
still
what I'm
slow.
hearing from people who know Busquets and know Barcelona very well, I've heard that it's like, yes, he's if you design your team in a way and you need pressing and you don't have anyone that could do it around someone like Busquets, he's not going to do well. But if you can set up your tactic and have people and make it so a way that he can be more of an anchor and he doesn't have to press, then it could work out and he can actually be an asset in the league. Um, but yeah, so
I,
hopefully
wa-
we
I
learned our lesson from Matuidi, because I don't have a problem with Busquets coming with already having Messi locked up, but he is you have to understand he's not going to be pressing, he's not going to be tracking back like full speed if you get caught out. So you have to be able to put people around him and set up the tactic in a way that's going to be able to benefit him and let him be kind of like almost like an extra center back and who could play on the ball and start counters.
so I have a theory. I think this team is going to switch to a 4-2-2-2, because I found out the other day that, I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if maybe it was just a backup plan in case the Messi thing fell through, but Pozuelo, who was the player that we got rid of for the hopes that we get Messi, and probably big part of the reason why we're in last place. We kind of, in a way, the owners kind of tanked this first half of the season to get Messi here. But I did find out that Pozuelo only signed a 6-month contract, and his contract's up June 30th. So, could we potentially see Campana, Joseph, Messi, and um, Pozuelo in a box in the top of the 2-2, and then we just roll a 6 and an 8 in the
You know,
back?
it's hard.
That would unlock in so much like
You just in our
passing, like
brain.
that.
If you were to ask me, like my brain says no, that wouldn't happen. But you think it makes sense because if you think about the whole situation, it's not like the club wanted him to go. They absolutely. I
They
mean, come on
tried to
now.
keep him,
They wanted to keep him, but
and
it
also too,
ultimately
I
came
heard,
down to Pizarro. If
and
Pizarro didn't have that contract and they had a way or someone who would take him, then they would have kept Pozuelo. So
and
they
also
wanted him. He liked it here too. He would have stayed. It just didn't work out. So that's why it
supposedly
is absolutely
too.
possible.
Well, here's another thing too. So I didn't know this, but Pozuelo, the contract, he was willing to take a lot less money. He still wanted to be a DP, but he would just be just above that threshold to where he wouldn't be a TAM player. He was taking so little money just to stay. He wants to stay. His girlfriend or his baby mama lives in Miami. And also too, he has still expressed interest in coming back. He's talked about coming back. I felt like there was talks because the Inter Miami Pozuelo thing happened on really good terms. Apparently, he understood what they were trying to do. He was trying to have a team friendly deal. He really wants to stay in MLS. He took a short deal in Turkey. Apparently, there was a second there where we thought he was going to resign. He took a photo of pink cleats out at the beach or something like that in Miami. I'm just saying I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's still a possibility because of how well he was received here, how well the team appreciated him and tried as hard as they can to keep him and try to keep him as a TAM player. Because apparently, what he would got paid for a TAM player was just too little for him. But he was willing to take a little bit higher, and I just think it's a possibility, man. Like I could see like a 2-10, two striker formation. I mean, you're going super heavy attack, but I think we have a strong enough keeper and back line. And if we can get our defensive midfielders some strength to that, the only big thing that would prevent that from happening though is if Busquets comes, which I just feel like it's a waste unless you can get Busquets on some sort of TAM deal like they did with Gareth Bale. That'd be crazy, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I do want to switch to another segment within this whole Messi thing. And I guess we could start off. Who do you think is going to join Messi in Inter Miami, as well as a whole in the MLS within maybe this summer transfer window or even next year? Who do you think is going to make that leap alongside with him? Because when Beckham came over, we had a lot of players then come over right after that. Roy Keane, um, Drogba, Perlo, Kaká,
Henri,
um, Henri, David Villa. Like we had a plethora of players that came after, and I'm sure I'm missing some too.
of course.
I think but then it kind of slowed down and fizzled out to where everybody's kind of signing DPs at like in their mid 20s that are playing well in like Europe or in South America. But I still think there's going to be maybe not as much as prior, but there's still going to be a decent amount of players that are going to probably come younger, probably come at the same time that Insigne and Bernadeschi came.
Yeah, it's gonna
Who do you
definitely
think is
open
going
up.
to follow?
It's gonna open up some
And
floodgates, but I'm gonna go ahead and I think, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the big boy is gonna follow Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think Saudi Arabia. I don't think he's having fun there, and I think with all this hype now that Messi's getting, um, he doesn't. I think at this point, even this season, with the amount of money that
Ronaldo to where? Say it. I know you. Already know what you're going to say. Ronaldo to where? Say it. Say it.
the all
Guess who needs a 9? And they don't have a DP signed yet.
who needs a 9 and they don't have a DP? You're not gonna fucking say St. Louis because that's fucking retarded.
No,
Okay, I was
no.
about to say
It's the easy answer. It's who you think it is.
with Galaxy.
Nope, the other one across town.
Really? LAFC, huh?
Yeah, I could
I could
see
see that
that. Could
too because
you
they don't have the
imagine?
DP, but they don't need that. But yeah, definitely Ronaldo. Because like I was mentioning earlier, Messi was offered freaking $500 million a year around, rumored.
They would do the
Sure, it's
same thing.
off
They
by
would
a
do the
little
same
bit.
thing for Ronaldo.
Ronaldo.
100%. They would do the
But
same thing.
and they would do the same thing for Ronaldo, and also Ronaldo, after playing one season, has all that money. If he really hates it that much, I mean, he just made more money in one season than
You know,
he's made in how many? I know he was making a lot of money, but like at his like peak with like
that's
Madrid
the
and stuff like that,
that's the
he's making
most
what?
he's made on a
30, 40.
salary.
But I'm just saying salary wise, what was
Yeah.
his peak? Like
That
30, 40 million a year?
Yeah, I think he's made more at Saudi Arabia these 2 years
Exactly. Well, you
than he's
exactly.
ever made playing. I mean, he's probably made that much across, like, all these other, like,
Well, yeah, the
sponsorship
spot. I'm
stuff,
not.
but, like,
We're
as
not
for
talking that.
playing,
I'm not talking
yeah,
sponsorships. Talking
he's
just
made more
salary
money
here.
in Saudi Arabia than
Um,
his entire career, I'm sure.
so yeah, I think he's one of them. And then as in terms of other players, it is hard to say because a lot of these we didn't really see coming. Like I don't think really anybody predicted the whole Insigne Bernardeschi to Toronto. I don't think
That threw
people.
me for a loop.
I don't think
That
people
did.
predicted Shaqiri to Chicago. Um, so it's gonna be interesting. It really could be anybody that's at the forefront. Anyone who's a name, whether it
So
young or old. I think you're gonna start to see a lot of interest, especially with these bigger market teams.
so I'll say this. I think 100 to me, it's not a shadow in the doubt that after this contract with Saudi Arabia, he's out. I don't buy that he wants to stay. He
Yeah, he's
was
not
really
happy.
close to he was really close to signing with MLS in Kansas City, which is a random ass team. I would have never guessed. He was really close to that, but the money was just too good in Saudi Arabia. All
Yeah,
signs point that he doesn't like it there. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't like it there. It's a whole different culture, a whole different shakeup. That was a big reason for Messi coming to MLS. He wanted to stay within the Western world and something that was familiar to him. I think Ronaldo, without a shadow of a doubt, I think, and I agree with you. You may not even have to give him the Messi deal. You can give him something close to it. You could probably give him revenue share for his jerseys, like higher percentage of his jerseys, because that's going to make him a ton of money. Maybe a piece of the team. Like, I don't know if he's going to get the exact whatever the Messi deal is. I mean, we all have rumors and speculations of what it is.
and
I don't think he's going to get the
he's a Nike
exact same.
and he's a Nike athlete, so I'm sure he's gonna Nike's gonna be happy to have him around.
Yeah, the only thing
They'll
is Adidas.
probably.
MLS is a Adidas thing, so that'd be tricky. But
It's
I
gonna be
will say,
tricky, but I don't think it's gonna stop him. He's still gonna be wearing Nike
yeah,
cleats, and he's still
yeah.
gonna be doing their commercials.
But I think to me, Ronaldo's looking at this and he's like, "Fuck," because and I mean, dude, are you kidding me? And I wouldn't be surprised if Apple and like MLS are going to come back and whoever, I don't know, maybe say a New York City or like a lot like or Los Angeles, which to me are the big ones, is like, hey, look, you know how like you want to come over to MLS and we're going to reunite that rivalry of Messi Ronaldo over here that we haven't seen in what since 2017 20
Because Ronaldo wasn't he the first one when he dipped out to
he left to
Juventus?
Juve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's when it ended,
So I think that was 2017, 2018.
something like that.
So
But
so
yeah,
I mean, could you like I think it'd be worth the money to do it. I think he would come. I think MLS will take him. Now, anybody outside of Ronaldo, no one else is getting that deal. I think that's it. I think there's only two players on this planet that is going to get that deal, and it was Messi and it's Ronaldo. They're the only ones that are going to get special treatment. Anybody else, they're just going to have to pay them what the teams can afford. Um, now as for outside of Ronaldo, I think we are going to see players, but I think what's going to determine a lot. So the CBA for MLS is going to end in 2024, the beginning of 2024 season, from what I understand. I think there is where we're going to see massive changes in roster regulations and salary caps. I think right now, the reason why we haven't seen any changes, what people are saying is that due to the CBA with the Players Association, they're kind of stuck there until 2024 when it ends. To me, I think 2024 is where everything is going to change. I genuinely believe I've been telling Adam there's been this uprising
I've been mad
and this
about, yeah,
roll
I'm the loudest one
and
about it.
yeah, and there's this uprising in like social media. I'm seeing it every day is like flat cap, open cap, get rid of TAM, get rid of GAM, get rid of DPs. I'm for it. Raise that bitch to 40. Raise it to 40, raise it to 30. I think the league, especially with Messi here now, can do better. This idea of having college players making 70 grand is just it's we're I think MLS is past that. I think it has grown and it's going to grow even more with this. And I think it's time for MLS to release the reins. I think they're going to end this season, and I think starting next season, I have no sources or nothing. I just firmly believe I think they're going to come in and change the rules and get rid of all those nonsense roster rules. Keep the salary cap because I like the salary cap, but absolutely just get rid of it and just have a standard. Look, you
Yeah.
got 40 mil, spend how you want it. You want to spend it with each player making 3 million. That's great. That would increase the talent level as a whole. If you want to spend 20 million on one player and then put the rest 10 to like the rest of your roster, that's another. But I think that's going to determine a lot. But I think regardless, we're going to see players. It sounds like as much as I don't want it, Busquets is going to come. I would so much rather see Alba than Busquets come to Inter Miami. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, now with Benzema taking Saudi Arabia, I think it's going to be a big. Right now, I think we're going to kind of hit at least over the next couple years, unless they make something drastic with the roster rules. There's going to be kind of a. I don't want to say a bidding war because it's not really a bidding war because Saudi Arabia is always going to outspend us, but it's going to be kind of like fighting for these top European players in their early 30s. Like, do you want to come over here and do things? And I think the only way you can do that is if you raise the competition level enough to where they want to come over here. And look, the ages are dropping. I mean, Insigne came at 30 years old. Bernardeschi's 28 years old. Messi is 35. Messi seems old, but he's not that old. He's not. Ronaldo would be old, but 35 is not that crazy. And that's like people are coming here at a younger and younger age from the top flight leagues. And as long as you can develop here, you can find talent in South America with people in their 20s or even talent in back in Europe in their 20s. And then you slowly bring players younger and younger. It's just going to increase the talent level. And I was seeing a thing too. It was like, and you know, where I was talking about like how the 20s, like the 2020s are going to be such a monumental decade for soccer in this country because one, what first started me to spur that idea was like you said, the World Cup in 2026. But then there's going to be more teams, and then the recent announcement of the expanded, upgraded Champions League, now called the CONCACAF Champions Cup. It's Apple TV deal. Then the announcement of the United Copa America of North and South America played in 2024. And then the cherry on top is now having Messi here. Like that is going to, it's like US soccer fans who are kids growing up during this era are going to be so spoiled. And it's like, that is so true because like Adam, when me and you were growing up, we didn't have any of that. I mean, we just watched the World Cup every 4 years and whatever soccer game we can catch on. But now these kids are going to grow up in an era where you have Messi, the Copa America, the World Cup, Apple, where you can stream any game, no blackouts, like, and most likely have a team in your backyard. Like that
Yeah.
is insane. Like this is going to be a monumental decade that we're going to look back, I think, 30 years from now and be like the 2020s when that shit hit.
Yep.
Just like
Oh yeah.
for like the NBA, it was the 90s, like the 80s and 90s. Like that changed the NBA forever. Was that generation? This is going to be I think the 2010s and the 2020s is going to be that way for the MLS. Like that was when you look at it and you're like, this is a new era. This is like changing forever.
100%.
I saw some rumors. I don't know how true it is if Ramos goes to Atlanta. I just don't see people playing I don't see people playing defenders that much, but
I don't know.
I know you think Zlatan's going to come out of retirement.
Nah, I think he's done. I don't think Zlatan will play around with that.
So, what player would you like to see over here? I was going to say Benzema, but then after the recent news of him going over there,
Yeah,
and he
it
might
is a
end there.
shame.
He's kind of older too. I think he's gonna. How old is Benzema? Like 34.
Yeah, and
I think
Conte
he's
as
gonna.
well going
He's gonna.
over.
Yeah, I think he's gonna
He's
end there.
another player that I thought would be actually really good at in the MLS, Conte. So I guess Saudi Arabia is trying to poach all of our boys now, the ones that MLS wants, but they couldn't get the golden goose. They couldn't.
And you know what? I'm fine with it. Like outside of Messi and Ronaldo, I don't want any of these old fuckers over here. Anyways, it's just going to keep on bringing down that stigma that we've took so long to shake, and in some ways hasn't really shaken. And now
Yeah,
Saudi
yeah,
Arabia is going to be filling that need. And I don't. To me, that shit's just not sustainable. Paying all these people through, and I know they make so much money over there, but like I mean, outside of what you can offer them from salaries, like what else can you offer him? Like at the end of the day, United States is one of the biggest commercial countries in the world. Like there's so many business, like the capitalism here is just so strong. Like it's more than what you can make out of salary. Like
yeah,
it's like Ronaldo can come here and make so much fucking money based off commercials and all this other
yeah. And maybe
commercialization of
Saudi
everything.
Arabia can give you more money salary wise, and yeah, maybe it's more money overall. But it's like, do you need like at that point? It's like ridiculous. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
I mean, are you going to want to start a business over there in Saudi Arabia, or are you going to want
Yeah,
to like start something here? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
definitely. So yeah,
but
we
yeah.
spent a lot of time on this huge topic, but rightfully so. Um, as we move on, Julian, you want to flash up this meme real quick? I thought this was very funny when you were talking about Tam and Gam, because it really is that dumb. It's like, okay, all right, okay. Um,
Yeah.
but
It
yeah,
was
so
not a
I
bad idea. It helped when it first came out, but it's like it helped for like a couple years, but now we're just at a point where it's like I don't
yeah,
know. I still
definitely.
stand by. They shouldn't even added that. They should just increase the floor.
Yeah,
Like
it just
the
makes it
white
very
white.
weird. But like we were talking about, we think it's going to change very soon. With all of this craziness going on. Uh, but
But
yeah, we definitely spent a lot of time on that, rightfully so. So we're gonna run through these next topics. We might not cover everything, but there is a big one to talk about. Um, I think it was most people's favorites. LAFC lose to Lyon on aggregate 3-1, and they lose in the CONCACAF Champions League finals. They cannot make history and give MLS back-to-back CONCACAF Champions League titles. Um,
but you know who did make history?
who?
Leon. That is their
Oh yeah,
first. That's their
that is a
first
good point.
Concacaf trophy. That is their
Yeah,
first Concacaf Champions League trophy.
it's a major
Um,
achievement for them.
they're
So
kind of like the laughing stock. They've been getting pummeled the last few years
no,
in
it's
Champions League against
huge for them.
MLS teams.
Yeah,
So out of like all the teams to win it, it's kind of crazy for them to be it.
yeah,
I mean,
that's huge for
they
them. I'll definitely because Julian definitely knows my thoughts on it. But I definitely want to hear what you thought first before I go into my rant here.
so here's what's so disappointing. LAFC could have got the what is it? I never know how to say it right. The triple, the
The
triple
treble.
treble. They could have done it. They could have done it. They just needed two more games, but they didn't. And uh, we could arguably say this was that if LAFC won that game, they would have been the greatest team in MLS history. I think they would have been. They would have
Oh,
been. I
no
believe the
doubt.
first team. They would have been the first team to do it. And just talent wise, the value of their roster, they would have been the greatest team ever. But they couldn't get it done. I didn't understand. Oh, they are actually, I don't know if you knew this, they are the first MLS team to make it to the final and not win a single one of their legs, which is crazy coming from the fact that
That
this was
yeah, this was
arguably the first time an MLS team was a favorite.
Yeah.
to win it.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, it was weird
Like
because
they were
like
the
we say,
best. They were the best MLS team to go to a final.
last year with Seattle, I mean, they broke the ice for the MLS teams. It was just always you you could argue that they should have talent-wise won a MLS should have had a CONCACAF Champions League title a few years earlier. But that's just
They
how
should
it
have got it
is.
with Toronto.
Yeah, they should have, but that's just how it is, and it became that thing. Like you just got to get the first one down. You just got to get that first one. And Seattle did it. It isn't easy, um, but what I want to, I think, and I want to first before I say this, I just want to say like we love you, LA. You guys are fun. You're always in the comments. Just like a famous sports commentator, Jim Rome says if when someone's doing good, you can cheer them up and talk how good they're doing, and I do that. And then when you screw up, I'm gonna let you hear it. And I think that that first leg in Lyon, you guys were lucky to still be in it after that game. I don't agree with the disallowed goal. I think it should have been 3-0 going into that. I thought that there was no urgency. You guys played scared. Um, in no, I just don't understand how that third goal is called a foul. I mean, you could see the contact there, but in my eyes, if you're a defender and a cross is coming up, and instead of jumping for a header, you just decide to stand there when the ball is a good 3 feet above your head, and then the other guy gets a foul because he is jumping for the ball. In my eyes, I think that's soft. I think that's not that shouldn't be a foul. But hey, LAFC, they got away with it, and they come down and they score 2-1. Huge. I mean, that absolutely. I thought at that point that they saved themselves, but then they come into LAFC, and again they're playing scared. It just wasn't right. That's what I think it was. I think the pressure got to them. I think they're a great team, and they should have won. And on another day they will. But I just got to call it how I see it. They choked. They choked under the pressure. Um, they're still a great team, and I still think they're going to do some great things in the MLS this season. But it was a huge missed opportunity. They were lucky to get out of that first leg, like I said, not down 3-0 aggregate, and yet you couldn't score a goal at home and lose 1-0 and let them score another. So um, overall, I think it was just it was a tie to forget. It was definitely a matchup to forget for LAFC. So
No, yeah,
um,
and then you go into the second game with a different formation, a formation you haven't played all season at all throughout the Champions League, and you go in there with a back. You go
like I say,
five two
it's playing
three.
scared. It's playing
Right,
scared.
you went
They
to
were
a
playing
5-2,
scared.
and then you throw in Kalini in there, who hasn't played in 2 months, and you're going to throw him in there. Makes absolutely no sense. Um, I know apparently Cifuentes is kind of having a down streak right now, but at the end of the day, he seems to be your best striker on the roster at the moment, and he's not playing, he's not starting, which is kind of asinine to me. And also too, like, look, Steve Trundle came out saying like, we need to change MLS needs to change all this stuff, all the roster rules and regulations, like we are talking about during the Messi talk. But it's like, yes, he's right, but that's also not the reason why you lost. You lost because you got outcoached tactically. You tried to try out a different formation that your team has not done all season, even into last season. And you got outcoached, you got outmanned. Like you said, like
Leon
they couldn't
absolutely
they
they
look
wanted
slow.
it more. They wanted it more.
They wanted it
LA
more.
were
And this is
LA
a
were playing
team.
scared, and Leon were playing like they had nothing to lose.
And
Rightfully so.
Leon had there with the disadvantage of having the home game first in the first leg, and then also they weren't the best team. They had like we look at that team, we're like LAFC is probably the best team on the continent, if not one of those for sure, better than
Yeah,
Leon.
again, like I say,
And you didn't.
different circumstances. Like let's just put it like this: if this team meets, if these two teams meet in like a quarter or like the first knockout round, then I think LAFC handily win it. But the final is always different the final is always a special occasion, and it'll sometimes bring out the best in players, and it sometimes brings out the worst. And I think we saw a little bit of both. It brought out the best in Lyon, and it did bring out the shortcomings and
Yeah.
the mental lapses of LA.
And I mean, I can
They only look
see,
themselves for a couple minutes at a time. Like they'd have like spurts where you're like, well, that's LAFC, and they're trying and they're peppering it in there, and that's where was this the whole 2 legs? It was just that day for them. They definitely could have scored. I could have definitely seen that second leg being like a 1-1, even a two
and as
one.
a team, as
But you
LAFC,
got to do that
it's
over two
unexcusable to
legs.
not score at home.
You got to do that over
Unexcusable
two
to not
legs.
swim.
Like I said, it was that kind of game, but at the same time, uh, you got to do that over the 2 legs. I think it's a different story if you're playing like that. I can excuse the bad luck if you're doing that for not just 90 minutes, but 180 minutes plus added time. That's just what you got to do. Um, so yeah, unfortunately we're because I think we all when we did predictions on this, I think we were all pretty wrong on this, but definitely after watching those 2 legs, over the 2 legs, Leon deserved to win it. Big congratulations to them. I'm sure their city and their team is going to be celebrating this one for a long time. I mean, this is absolutely huge for them. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, going to
it's
the Club
great.
World
It's great
Cup,
for them. The
and
Club World Cup.
and
That's always
and the thing
massive for a team like that. Club
and the
World
thing for
Cup.
LA,
Yeah.
and the thing with LAFC is like I felt like Bawanga didn't show up. I felt like Bella didn't show up. And my
Yeah,
thing
they all
too is
didn't show
like,
up.
I think a lot of this stems to you had a player in Chichu Arango who was one of the best strikers in the league last year. The dude was a monster last year. And he wanted to become a DP player, but you guys didn't want to. You wanted to keep him as a TAM player. And I think a part of that reason is because, hey, we're LA. Let's try to get this massive name versus you get a Chicho Arango, which is just, he's a big name in MLS, but he's not really big name worldwide. He's not going to put butts in the seats. But I don't understand why you're going into this Champions League knowing that you're going to be a very strong favorites into this Champions League and then you don't fill in that third DP spot. Like my thing is like, why aren't you taking this serious? Why haven't you filled in that third DP spot? And I get that maybe you want to wait to the summer and try to get that big transfer window. But why not put Chicho in a short-term DP deal? Why not? Look, he wants more money. Give him more money give him a 6-month contract. Give him up until the end of June. And then once the transfers window, if you don't want to pay him that DP money and you rather get a big name worldwide star to come to LA because it's LA, then do that. Let him go. Look, because, and I was telling you before the podcast, right now, Chicho Arango is looking to get picked up from Pachuca, transferred to Real Salt Lake. It's going to be Real Salt Lake's biggest transfer ever, the most money they ever spent on a transfer. Why couldn't LAFC do that? Just keep the man here and then shop him to other MLS teams when it comes summertime, or just give him a shorter contract. I didn't understand the process of just letting him walk and go to Mexico, Liga MX, and then just for him to come right back to MLS. And now I think he's gonna tear it up at Real Salt Lake. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to me,
No,
that was
that's
a
a
big
great point.
mistake. You went in there without a true striker that, like I mean, like I said, Steve Fuentes, I guess they had a lot of promise in him, but at the end of the day, he wasn't there. And I think that he was severely missed during that game. So I mean, I think LAFC, they're going to be back in it next year. I think they have like 3 games in hand. They're in third place, but 3 games in hand or something, or
Yeah,
two
yeah,
games in hand, something
they're
like
a bit
that. They're
behind
going to,
because of the
and all you need to do is be in the
cups.
top 4 in the supporter shield. They're going to be there. I think they're going to qualify again next year. They're too good of a team now that they're focusing on that. But yeah, I do want to ask you. I'm curious. Do you think that this affects Carlos Vela's legacy in MLS that he couldn't get it done now in 2 Champions League finals?
A little bit. I don't think it's gonna in the long run it will. I think what he's done for the club and how he's performed, just overall in the league. I mean, he's
He
definitely
did
gonna
get
go
MLS
down.
Cup.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna go down as one of the greats. I mean, there was a period of time, like I said, still after this final, there's still only one team to have ever won the CONCACAF Champions League from the MLS. So you can argue that, it's one of those things that, you don't necessarily, yeah, at this point, I guess depending
It's
on
not like a bunch of
circumstances,
MLS teams are winning.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, well, we have them. It's like, oh, this guy has them and you don't. So how is he alleged? It might change in the future, and it definitely will. I think with like we were talking about earlier with Messi and the league changing, but yeah, I don't think it's going to affect it that much. I think he's definitely done enough to deserve everyone's respect.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess we'll end it there. We'll move over to I
Yeah.
know you've been itching to talk about
We
this,
could just
but
do this real
the
quick because we've been taking a lot of time, and unless you want to
or
be
you know
sitting
what?
here,
We'll save this for next week.
we
Let's go to
could,
our
but
predictions.
I want to do a quick quote.
Okay.
I just want to share a quick quote for you guys, just to
If they're
give you
still
a
losing, we'll talk about
just
it next week.
just to give you a hint of what's going on. I don't know which. Oh, this screen.
All right.
There we
If
go.
they're still losing, then we'll talk about it next. We'll talk in more depth
Yeah,
next week.
definitely. But I do want to mention this quote. I mean, this is just such a freaking. I mean, it's a quote and a half. Um, for the situation that's going on in Toronto. If it continues to get worse, we'll talk about it. But I think this says everything you need to know from Bernadeschi. For those of you who are listening, I'll read it out. So he says, "quote We lose every game," Bernadeschi said. "We tie, we lose, we tie, we lose. Sometimes we win, but I can't believe this. Sincerely, this is no good for the young players. They need to get better, no, and grow up with an idea of football. And the players with personality, they need to help us to understand and follow the idea of football. But we need the idea of football. This is the real situation." Basically calling out Bob Bradley, which I've been saying for months. Um, but yeah, we'll be talking about that soon, because hopefully we can get Tyler involved, because I'm sure he has a lot of things to say about that as well. But I think that quote shows you all you need to know about Toronto right now, and we will definitely talk more about it next week, assuming that the slide continues.
All right. So let's go into our picks of the week. Which match day is it, Adam?
Well, I'm assuming it's 18, but so many games at hand. So many games at hand, and all these
All right.
different
Well,
competitions. But let's just
I'll
put it
look
like
into.
this. Let's
I
put it
believe
like
it is
this.
match day 18th, though.
I believe it is too, because the teams that have the most games played right now are 17 league games played, which means that it must be match day 18.
Yeah, I think everybody's had
Right?
a bye so far.
Right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So match day 18th predictions. If we are wrong on the match day number, it will be correct in the title and in the thumbnail. But let's get into it. So here we go. So first game, Los Angeles FC versus Atlanta United. Los Angeles minus 175 at home. United plus 370 away, with the draw being a plus 320. I'm going to go win here. LAFC at home. I almost want to say
Interesting. So
draw,
these
but
are
I'm going to go
Jamaican
win
games.
here.
Interesting. Um,
Oh, that's tonight. Actually, let's skip
these are
that one.
tonight games. There's also
Yeah.
there's
Okay,
also
we'll skip
Dallas
that one.
versus St. Louis. Hold on, scroll up. Do they have Dallas versus St. Louis? I want to make sure that doesn't throw us off either. That one's at
No,
8:30
on there.
tonight.
It's not on there. It's probably too late to bet, but well,
Too
it
late
doesn't
to
make
bet
sense.
for
Yeah,
8:30.
that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
Either way, okay, let's start here. Okay, let's start that over. Welcome, everybody. We're doing match day predictions 18. Let's get into it. First game of the match day of 18. Atlanta United FC versus DC United. Atlanta is minus 150 at home. DC United plus 320, plus 330 away, with the draw being a plus 300. Give me Atlanta United at home against DC.
Oh, absolutely. Uh, yeah, I'll take that as
I will
well.
say,
We played DC
Benteke
did beat
playing pretty
yeah,
good.
he's been playing good and they did beat us, but let's be honest, aside from the Messi news, we're bottom of the barrel right now, so that's not exactly a
Yeah.
good thing beating us. And I wasn't exactly impressed with DC United. We were playing with 10 men the whole time. So Atlanta.
And the Greek striker Giamakis has actually been playing pretty well for them. I believe he has 7 goals in the season so far, so not bad. Next game, Montreal versus Minnesota United. Montreal at home plus 105, with Minnesota United away plus 330, with the draw being a plus 330. I'm going to go draw here.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was thinking. I've been watching a little bit of Minnesota United because I did a little trip to Minneapolis, and I enjoyed it so much that I've been kind of, looking to see where they play and how their team is and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. It's just Montreal have looked better of late, but Minnesota, they're not amazing away, but I think I could hold the draw. I would
But
take the
they
draw
are
here.
getting their star striker Emmanuel Reynoso back into the lineup, so that's
Yeah,
just
that
going to
that is good.
further
That's
their
gonna that's
strength.
gonna help. Montreal, like I said, they've been much better, especially at home. So this is going to be tough for Minnesota to just walk in and win. So I think draw is fair.
All right, so we both got draw. All right, Charlotte FC versus Seattle Sounders. Charlotte FC plus 135 at home. Seattle plus 175 away, with the draw being a plus 230. I actually got Seattle away here.
Yeah, I agree. Charlotte, they can get a result here and there. Seattle, they've been back, but not exactly clicking on all cylinders. Um, but this is a good matchup for them, especially away. I think that Charlotte, they struggle at home.
I just want to double check this. Okay, cool. All right, next game. New England versus Inter Miami. New England at home plus 200. Inter Miami plus 470 away, with the draw being at plus 310. I think New England wins at home. I think Inter Miami is going to go full force at the U.S. Open Cup game tonight, as we're recording on a Wednesday, against Birmingham. So I think they're probably going to rest this upcoming game against New England. Plus, the team is just not clicking well right now.
Plus all
And New
the
England,
injuries.
yeah, plus the injuries. Meanwhile, New England, on the other hand, has been playing very well, top of the
Oh,
East.
very, very
They're
well. They're one of the
and
surprises of the season.
and we're playing on turf. I think New England wins this one.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Next game, Toronto FC versus Nashville SC. Toronto FC plus 150 at home, Nashville plus 165 away, with the draw being a plus 220. I actually think this game is going to be a draw here, because Nashville away, they know how to get points. I don't know if they're necessarily going to have enough firepower to win the game, but Toronto, on the other hand, even at home, even with all their issues, I always feel like Toronto can get a goal in. Last week, they couldn't get a goal in to save their life. They had so many chances, but couldn't get it in. But I think that's not going to happen this week. I like Toronto and
Well,
Nashville tying
this
here.
this is going to be our first disagreement so far. I'm going to take Nashville. I just think I can see it being a draw, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. But I think with Toronto's issues right now, I think Nashville will start to bounce back. I mean, they're not great away, but I think at Toronto is a nice place to get your footing.
Man, did you see the Toronto highlights this past game against? Oh
See,
my god,
I
I'm drawing a
that I
blank.
missed. That I missed. I missed the
I forgot who they
Toronto
played
highlight.
against, but man, they had so many chances and they just couldn't get it in. I mean, they were basically gifting them chances. But anyways, Orlando City SC at home versus Colorado Rapids. Orlando minus 125, Colorado plus 290, with the draw being a plus 250. I got Orlando at home.
I
Just a better
agree.
team.
I agree. They're a better team, and I just hate Colorado and fuck Cronky. So let's move on.
All right. Chicago Fire FC versus Columbus Crew Chicago plus 135 at home. Columbus plus 170 away, with the draw being a plus 240. Chicago still literally on fire. Things are just not working well. Columbus, on the other hand, playing very well, has a really strong attack. I like Columbus here.
I agree. I like Columbus as well. I think they've been playing a lot better. They're really starting to click with the new manager. So and Chicago, like you said, are a fire right now.
All right, Houston Dynamo versus LAFC. LAFC, really interesting to see their approach here since they are playing tonight. But I'm going to go. So Houston Dynamo plus 170 at home, LAFC plus 135 away, with the draw being a plus 230. So LAFC is actually the away favorites, and I'm actually going to agree with Vegas here and go with LAFC to win away.
I'm actually gonna go Houston on this one. LAFC, I think they're a little rattled, and then with a midweek game, I don't know how fresh their legs will be.
I just
And
think
Houston,
Houston's so weak.
yeah, but I do like them at home. I like how they've been playing, so I'm gonna be going with Houston here.
All right. Sporting Kansas City versus Austin FC. Sporting Kansas City minus 115. Austin plus 270 away, with the draw being a plus 260. I actually think this is going to be a draw here. I don't think Kansas City has the clinicalness to, I don't even know if that's a word, but to score and win this game. Meanwhile, Austin is just having such a down season, even though they should be better than what they are. I think we're going to see a 1-1 draw here.
I think with Austin's defense, I mean, Kansas City, they haven't been super strong, but I think Austin's defense is going to be a little leakier than that. So I think Kansas City will win.
All right. Next game, Real Salt Lake versus New York City FC. Real Salt Lake plus 110, New York City FC plus 210 away, with the draw being a plus 230. I like Real Salt Lake here. I like them at home. I think they're more together as a unit. New York City FC right now hasn't won in over a month, and they're just going in a downward spiral. I mean, they lost so many players this season, and I like Real Salt Lake here.
Yeah, I agree. NYCFC, their biggest advantage is their field that they play on, and even then, they haven't been clicking lately. So Real Salt Lake is a good pick.
All right. Now, to me, this is probably the game of the week. Vancouver Whitecaps versus FC Cincinnati. Vancouver minus 105 at home. Cincinnati plus 230 away, with the draw being a plus 260. Vancouver has actually been on a roll lately. They've been playing very well. Julian Gressel on that team has been a monster. Probably going to be an all-star player. I think Vancouver with the upset here, even though they're the favorites at home. If you look on Supporter Shield race, you would say that them beating Cincinnati would be an upset, but I'm going to Vancouver here. I really like them. They're on the rise. They're playing very well right now.
Yeah, this is one where I think I would be picking differently if it wasn't at Vancouver. The fact that they're on a roll and Vancouver's at home, I'm gonna have to agree with you.
All right. It looks like we have a lot of agreements here.
Yeah,
All right. San Jose Earthquakes versus Philadelphia Union. San Jose plus 125, Philadelphia Union plus 185, with the draw being a plus 230. This is actually another sneaky good game. This is a good late night game. Looks like all the good games are at 10:30. I'm going to go draw here. I think
okay.
Philly's going to be good enough to catch up. If anything, I'm leaning towards San Jose winning it, but I think Philly's going to be they have the talent to keep up, and I see a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, Philly have had a bit of a rough start to it, but they've been looking better. Even getting an away win recently.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly against who. So I'm gonna
Christian
go. I'm gonna go Union on this one, actually.
yeah, Christian Espinosa and Abobasi, they've been really good.
Yeah.
Christian Espinosa is probably going to make the All-Star team this year. So, yeah. All right. And then I believe this is the final. No, we actually have some more games. So we actually have a Sunday afternoon game.
Two Sunday games.
St. Louis versus LA Galaxy. St. Louis minus 110 at home. LA Galaxy plus 230 away, with the draw being a plus 270. Look, man, St. Louis, one of the best teams in the West. LA Galaxy, a bottom dweller team. They have talent, but
Yeah, and LA
not
Galaxy have been getting
not.
better,
But
but
there's
at St. Louis, come on now.
yeah,
I
and
think we both agree it's
LA
going to be St. Louis.
LA has good individual talent, but as a starting 11, there's a lot of pieces on there that are just not good.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, so yeah, St. Louis here, and I honestly like those odds. -110 is not bad for that game. All right, and now our final game of the week: Portland Timbers versus FC Dallas on a Sunday night, 10 o'clock. Portland +100, FC Dallas +240, with the draw being at +240. I like Portland here.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though
Portland
I
at
think
home.
Dallas is the better team, Portland at home is just something that's a pretty big advantage, you know.
It's a tough place to play. Yeah, and they have looked good at home recently. So
Yeah, they're
nothing
starting to
amazing, but
play.
I think against Dallas, I think it's a good matchup for them. I think it is.
Yeah, they're starting. Portland's starting to play a little bit better. They're still lackluster, and they might still struggle to make the playoffs, but they're slowly starting to play a little bit better. And Dallas, on the other hand, I feel like is starting to kind of slow down a little bit, and kind of eking by games, barely getting in. But, anyways, that is the picks of the week in MLS Match Day 18. So, you ready to talk some European transfer news?
Yes, European transfer news.
And
So,
what was
wow.
the biggest transfer that happened in Europe? Not out of Europe?
So the news, we all knew it was going to happen. Alexis McAllister to Liverpool. No, I'm just kidding. That is happening though. It is happening. That's what fun. No, but Jude Bellingham is leaving Dortmund, but he is not going to England. He will be going to join the All Whites in Real
Los
Madrid.
Blancos.
The Blancos. Yep.
So
Jude
you
Bellingham
as our
for 100 million and about 30 million in add-ons, which was his transfer value. Surprisingly, with all these, a lot of the times the reported transfer value isn't exactly what gets paid, but in this case, all the reports were that he was worth 130 million transfer value, and that's what Real Madrid have just paid. Um, he's an excellent talent. I think this is a great signing for an aging Madrid midfield. Um, they're building for the future, and assuming that they can get their wingback situation sorted out. I mean, think about now going from Cruz and Modric to Bellingham and Camavinga. That's a pretty good combination, both with World
and
Cup
Valverde.
experience and Valverde. That's serious World Cup experience already for youngsters. Having gone through that. Bellingham, of course, with England, and Camavinga, getting a little bit lucky with the injuries to Conte and Pogba, but still showing up and showing that he deserves to be on that French team for now and in the future. Um, we did mention earlier that Benzema is out. He's going to Saudi Arabia, so that leaves a hole. Um, I I wasn't really sure, but luckily I do have a friend who is a pretty big Real Madrid fan, and he's telling me that he's I don't know if it's like a Madrid thing or but he likes Harry Kane. He thinks Harry Kane would be a good replacement, and you know what? I
So
have
before
to
we get
agree.
into that, let's I want to talk a little bit more about Jude. Um so I think Real Madrid is very, very masterful at finding replacements before it's absolutely necessary. Obviously, talk about Benzema in a second. That was a little bit of a shell shock, I guess. I mean, not really. I guess people figured he was going to leave soon. But look, you still have Modric and you still have Cruz there, but now it's going to be so deep in that midfield now because now adding Jude in there, um, I'm curious to see if they feel like Camavinga's ready to make that step to take over Cruz or Modric.
I think they should,
I'm
because I think after the Champions League uh, against City, it showed that they are, as legendary as they are. I mean, Modric. I mean, come on now, one of the greatest midfielders of all time of our generation. Um, It's not common that someone just kind of sneaks up and steals the Ballon d'Or from Messi and Ronaldo, but Modric was that guy. Same thing with Benzema, but we'll get to that. Um,
But I think what's so good because I think Valverde
but I
really
do
came
think
onto
that,
his
yeah,
own
I think
this
Valverde is
past year.
great. I think Camavinga needs to play in the midfield. He's been really good considering he's been played out of position.
And
Jude
now
Bellingham,
and
we
now
all
with
know
Bellingham
what Jude Bellingham is capable of.
gonna be an
I think
instant
they,
starter.
I think that it's going to help now with Modric and Cruz getting old. I think they do need to lean in this younger direction and having those older heads in the locker room and maybe having like one of them play. Like if you have Camavinga and Bellingham and Valverde, and like you decide to just maybe just have Modric or just have Cruz in and sub them in for certain situations and not have to have both of them in, I think that's better for Madrid because I think that having,
I think
no disrespect, but having the two old men running around and controlling your midfield, um, it's great when you have the ball, but you're not always going to have the ball.
no, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like I think it's gonna be perfect because you're still gonna have those players, you're still gonna have that quality, you're still gonna have that experience. It's just these guys. I mean, do you want them going 90 minutes week in and week out? And now you're having Jude Bellingham in there who could easily step in for one of them. And like I think it's adding so much more depth. And now you can like you said, you can have like maybe in the 60th, 70th minute, we need a little bit more quality. Um, or if you just feel like an injury might happen or um, someone's just gassed and they need to get off, you now have a reliable replacement who I think Modric, he can give you a really good 30 minutes. 100. He can give
I
you a
agree. I
very good
agree.
even
He's
at his
someone.
older age.
He's the kind of
Like
guy like
90,
Cruz
no,
too, but
but
Modric. He's the kind of guy you want at least in your locker room. Um, I know if you're watching this
and
podcast,
I
you might
trust him
not
with 30
agree.
minutes for
You might
sure.
not know exactly this comparison, but I like to think of it like the value of having someone. Like people make fun of Udonis Haslem for the Miami Heat. It's like that man doesn't hasn't touched the court in years, and
Yeah,
they're
but I
still
don't
paying
think
him. And it's
Madre.
like, why do you have? Oh, I'm just saying it's. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying it's important for a team to have a character that fits your locker room and knows how the team operates. So that's why Udonis Haslam is still there because just having him in the locker room is builds the team up. It gives them that character, and I feel like Modric, it's a similar thing. He's got that experience. He's at this point he's kind of like the wise old midfielder. um, uh, one of my favorite. I don't remember what it was from. It was some like comedy sketch that like some British channel that came up with, and they would this guy had a character where he was like the deluded Liverpool fan, so he would commentate over the games. And it's like one time, like Modric scored a goal on Liverpool, and he's like, "Oh, you witch nosed bastard!" And I'll always think of him like that. Like he's the witch nosed Luka
Yeah,
Modric. But I
he's
mean,
still he's I think he's got juice left.
he's
He
got
just can't do
juice
a
in
full
him.
90.
Yeah, exactly. You got a midfield here. You're competing with players in the game like City has. They're great players, but you need to keep up because they were showed in the semifinals exactly what they're missing out on. So this is a big deal. We're gonna see how it progresses over the into the season if other signings that they make because with Benzema out, now we can transition to this with Benzema going to
Well, I
Saudi
was gonna say
Arabia.
real quick too. Like, I think
Yeah,
he's it's gonna be really good for him to play at a team like Real Madrid that's in Champions League year in and year out. Not to say Dortmund isn't, but like Dortmund doesn't really make runs like they have, like Real
and
Madrid does. And I
players
think
have a
it's
good history of leaving Dortmund to go on to play for these big
yeah.
teams and being
And
ready.
I
Dortmund's
think
good at getting your players ready for
yeah,
for the next step.
and I think if you're an England fan, I think you have to be excited. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, every English fan wants him to play in the Prem, but I think playing at Real Madrid is going to be really good for him in a sense of like what you see from him in Champions League. I think he's going to
Yeah,
get more consistent, high quality matches versus Dortmund. They're going to go against a high quality team once they get out of the group stage, but then they most likely get knocked out right after that one leg. Versus Real
yeah.
Madrid, you're going to be pushing for the finals almost every single every single year. So this is going to give him a chance to like get experience against a Chelsea, a Liverpool, a Arsenal, a City, and have multiple Champions League legs to go after, and then also playing with higher quality talent around him and
Yeah.
being able to understand and play with people because it is hard for players to kind of transition to like playing with people that are below his level to now playing with people that are higher than your level. And I think now that's going to be good for him. So when he goes to place for England, he's going to be more used and playing internationally. He's going to be more used to playing against people at a playing with and against people at a higher level versus
Yeah.
the Bundesliga. That bottom half of the Bundesliga just isn't as strong as La Liga as a whole. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
I think it's going to be really good. But yeah, go with the Benzema thing. Benzema's out to Saudi Arabia. Who's the replacement?
Yeah. So I think, like I was alluding to earlier, my friend made a comment where he thinks Harry Kane is a good fit, and I would have to agree. I actually think that would be very good for them. I mean, you'd have to, especially after this season. I mean, Harry Kane, he's definitely starting to get older. Not he's not an old player by any stretch of the imagination, but it's getting to that time in his career where it's like, okay, and I'm not saying this because, like, yes, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm not even trying to like say this to be mean. Like, I'm just telling the truth at this point. Like, what is he going to do at Tottenham for the next few years? Like, he's gotten close. He's gotten the Champions League final and lost. Like, that it's not the same team. They struggled in the league this year. Um, coaching issues and all that. Does he want to stick around and spend the last few years of usefulness at Tottenham? So I think it makes sense for both sides. I think it's a good transfer for Madrid because they get someone who, plenty of World Cup experience, plenty of international experience, captain for uh, Tottenham and England. Um, he's a good leader, and he still got plenty of goals in him. So to put him in that situation, I think would be very good for Madrid, and I think it would be a good challenge and a good step in the right direction for the rest of Harry Kane's career. So I think that makes the most sense to me. I know the big money topic is Mbappe, but I think that ship has kind of sailed. Yeah, Mbappe's boyhood club is Real Madrid, but that's like, I don't know. I feel like that's on a whole nother level, and the stuff that PSG's been doing and France has been doing to try and keep Mbappe in Paris. I don't think that that's going to happen, and if it's going to happen, it's not going to happen this year. So that's what I think. I would say Harry Kane, and those are my reasons. Um, what would you say? Is if you're Madrid and you have that all that money to just say, okay, let's just pretend
So
you're not broke from Bellingham.
so here's the thing. So like the big ones is Kane, Mbappe, Havertz, and let me see here. I believe those are kind of the big three. And right now, I have a thing is saying Real Madrid is ready to make an opening offer for Harry Kane worth $80 million. It would be a 3-year contract, 11 million. By the way, these are euros, not dollars. It would be a
Yeah,
3-year contract worth 11 million euros per season.
I like that
So
deal. I think
I
that makes sense.
I
I think the value's right. I think for his age, I think all sounds good.
a- and that's
And
what I
I
was
think
going to
that's what
say is
Tottenham. I
that
think that's the most Tottenham can expect to get for him at this point. Not saying that he's
yeah
a bad player, but just that's just how the market is.
it's just it seems like there's just not a place for him like realistically to go anywhere in the Prem, maybe like a Liverpool, but
Yeah,
it seems like his best bet is look, if you want to go to a team that's going to make Champions League year in and year out, it's going to be Real Madrid. And you're going to have an amazing supporting cast. You're going to have that English connection now with Jude Bellingham.
yeah.
It seems like all
That's
the
another reason
lines
it
are
makes
kind
sense.
of
Yeah,
and I feel like too now if you're an English fan, wouldn't you want him to be paired with Bellingham and now have that connection so they're not just only getting it during international play. Now it's like you're having your two stars on your team constantly playing with each other. So to me, I think he looks at that and is like, look, if we want to make a push for the Euros next summer, let's get a year of me combining with a guy who's going to be feeding me. You know what I mean? And get that experience. Also, too, from Real Madrid's side, I think is Harry Kane's a guy who still has quality. He can still play. He's still a top striker. Um, and the price isn't that bad. And he's a
Yeah,
pure nine. He's a pure nine striker. The other people like Havertz and Mbappe, see, Mbappe likes the left side. Mbappe, even though he can play center forward, he's not a pure nine. I don't look at Mbappe as a pure nine. Mbappe is a second striker on the left sand or a winger. And him and Vinny are going to occupy that same space. And I don't necessarily think they're going. I mean, look, they'll make it work. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's going to be tough. And then with the money that it's going to cost to have Mbappe, it's like how much of it is worth the hassle. I versus you can get a guy like Harry Kane with a reasonable offer and is a pure nine that can combine really well with Rodrigo and Vinny as they cross the balls in from the wing. Because we all know Vinny loves to run down. And as much as I think that, like, man, that front line with Mbappe and Vinicius, like they will break. And now having the midfield to get those through balls to break that back line, those two running side by side to each other, like who's going to catch up to them? So
oh
like
yeah,
that runs in the back of my
100%.
mind where I'm
Yeah,
like, there's not a back line in the world that can catch up to those guys. Like you're talking about probably the fastest attackers in the world in Mbappe and Vinicius. And it would be insane. But I still get back to that. I think Mbappe is best utilized on that left side. And you already have a guy in Vinicius who's probably the best winger in the world, like occupying that space. And it's going to be tough versus you have a guy who Harry Kane, who he wants to be in the middle. He wants to be in the middle. He's going to be in the middle. And then you have a guy like Havertz where I don't think Havertz has it in him to be that replacement for Benzema. Um, versus like Harry Kane. I think he's a guy who's going to easily get you 20 plus goals a season playing in La Liga. And
yeah,
I think a league like La Liga would also be good for him. I think a very combining tiki taka league could be really solid for him, especially at his more advanced age that he's getting to. Because what is he, 29, 30 years old?
yeah.
So, I mean, the Prem is starting to get Prem is starting to turn into a more physical league.
Oh yeah.
And I
It's been
think
physical, but it gets even more so. I mean, it
it's getting
seems
even
like
more faster. Yeah, it's
yeah,
getting yeah. And I just think a team like Real Madrid would just be perfect with him to combine with because there's so much creativity in in Real Madrid with their midfield and their wingers, and I just think he would fit really well there. And from what I'm seeing, it seems like a lot of English fans don't want him to go there. But if granted, that was prior to the whole Jude Bellingham thing, but I think now that even
yeah,
solidifies it even more, having a teammate with him that he can play, especially going into this upcoming Euros where he's going to be your starting
yeah.
striker, especially with the shit
Someone
that's going on
who's
with
your
Tony.
captain for
Like,
England. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that too. No,
yeah.
it'll be
So
interesting. So yeah, with Bellingham secured, they got another big signing to make. Um, they're definitely going to try, and hopefully we'll be talking about it more soon. Because once it's done deal, I think it'll be exciting to really start to talk about how that team's going to line up and if they can really compete um, for Champions League next year. Um, which we're getting long episode because we started talking about the huge news with Messi, but we do have one more thing that needs to be talked about this Saturday.
needs to
We
be.
we have the Champions League final. Now, I don't have too much to say on this aside from, kind of what I was saying about the Madrid City semifinal. Um, yeah, there's like a curse, but I think that City have just proven to everybody that they are just unstoppable. I mean, from top to bottom, from Erling Haaland to their midfield. I mean, their midfield has been by far the best midfield in all of the world. Any world league, they have the best midfield. Kevin De Bruyne has been one of the best midfielders in the world for a few seasons now, and you got players like Gundogan showing up and showing why they're world class as well. I don't want City to win it. I do want Inter to win it, but this isn't about who I want. This is who I think is going to win, and I think this is going to be fairly easy for City. Um, Inter can try and defend and sit back, but they're going to need to get their own chances at some point because you're not going to hold City to you're not going to hold City to a goose egg. They're going to score. You have to score too, and it's just going to be very tough for them.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Yeah, City is the favorites. As much as I'm rooting for Inter to win, and I want them to win because I just dislike City. It realistically, City's just by far the better team. The team's worth more and everything. But I will say this: I do think, as improbable it probably is, I do think Inter Milan has the team and has the style to potentially beat a City in the sense that
Yeah, it could
Inter
definitely
Milan could be
happen,
really
but
they can be really good in transition, which is what you're going to have to
that's the
play.
key. That's the key
What
because yes, they're
what
going to sit back and they're going to defend, and City's going to have a lot of possession. But I totally agree. I mean, the transition is going to make or break. If they can
and
transition
they're
and get
very good
multiple
at that.
chances, yeah, yeah, it's
Which
gonna be tough for them because I think City, I think they're prepared. I think Pep is he's no dummy. He knows that that's the key. If some bums on the internet are talking about it in a podcast, then I'm sure Pep Guardiola knows what the fuck's going on. I mean, you have to assume, uh,
yeah. Yeah,
so
I
so
mean,
so I agree.
okay, yeah, because Inter is good in transition. So it's like if any team is kind of built in a way to, I'm not saying they're built in like to beat City, but like they follow a style that could lead to a City defeat in a sense where they'll let you have the ball and they can beat you in transition. And I believe Lautaro Martinez has the most one touch goals in Serie A, which is what you're going to need against City. You're going to
Oh,
need those one touch
100%.
goals because let's be real, you're not going to be able to really create and develop and play tiki taka and just kind of, you're going to need to get the ball, get breaks, make deep lying through balls, and run down the back line and come at the keeper. So it's like, and I think you with a guy like Lautaro, that is potential that he can do that. That's literally what he's gets paid to do is run down that field during transition and get those one touch goals. And he's been on a roll, honestly. So I think all City needs to do is shut him down. If City shuts down Lautaro, it's pretty much a game for Inter. But if they can't and he keeps on getting shots, he's going to get one in. And then at the end of the day, you have a guy, even though he's getting older and he's coming off the bench, you still have a legendary striker in Lukaku who is going to come off the bench and is extremely clinical and has been pretty good the past few games coming off that bench as a more super sub role. And if you have a guy like Lukaku, he can give you a really good 30 minutes and win a Champions League for you. So if they can, it's really going to come down to, yeah, getting that ball in transition, running down the field and beating them and getting those one touch looks that you're going to get. Because let's be real, City's not going to give you the time and space. They're just not. And you're going to have to take that little chance that you get to blast it. And I think they have strikers who can take advantage of those situations. But I think at the end of the day, City's just going to be too much for them. And I think Inter's defense is just not going to be strong enough to prevent them from scoring too much because City can really rein it in on you. And once Inter gets down by 2 goals, it's going to be almost impossible for them to come back from. But if they can remain defensively solid, and you keep it 0-0. And I think Inter can only way they can come out of this is if they win a 1-0 game.
Yeah, I agree. It would have to be something like that, but I just don't see it happening. Like I said, I mean,
Yeah, you're
you
not shutting out City.
you're gonna need to get more than just one because City are gonna score. I mean, it may not
If Real
be,
Madrid couldn't shut him out
4 or
at
5. Yeah,
home, yeah,
yeah. So it'll be tough. We'll definitely be watching because Champions League final, aside from World Cup final, biggest game of the year. Um, so I'm sure hundreds of millions will be tuning in to see if Pep can finally lift the Champions League trophy with City.
It's not gonna be more than Messi against Cruz Azul and Leagues Cup
Yeah,
group stage.
that too. That's going to be a big game. I don't know if
Oh, man.
quite as many people. I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
But anyways, we're going to end it there, guys. I want to thank everybody for listening to episode 12 of Real Fans FC. You know where to find us anywhere you get your podcast, as well as on all the social media platforms. Actually, I do want to hit you with this. Me and Adam wanted to do fun facts for each other and figure out if we can figure them out.
Ooh.
So I actually have a really good one for Adam. You don't have to get one for me, and then
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
close
gonna
it
have
out
to.
here.
I'm gonna have to get one for next week.
Yeah, get one for next week when Tyler's back. We'll do like cool, like things that aren't super difficult because,
Yeah.
but things. So, so here's the question. It's like the 3 most valuable goalkeepers in the world and their estimated transfer value. What are those top 3? And if you don't have to do it in order, but if you want to, you can.
Donnarumma.
He's in there. Are you going by order?
No.
Okay. He's second, by the way.
Fucking A, man. Should I go young or should I go established?
Donnarumma is your youngest one. The rest are established. They're in their prime.
Courtois?
Nope. Actually, I am surprised he's not on there, but no Courtois.
No Courtois.
You want a hint? The other 2 they're in the prem.
Fuck. No way it's Ramsdale.
Yep, Ramsdale, number 1. That's the third one.
It's because of this. The only reason it's like that is because what we call the English tax.
Yeah, but who's the third?
But he
one?
is good. He is good. I mean, I didn't want to because I felt like I was thinking about too biased. But yeah, he is good. So Donnarumma, Ramsdale, and definitely not Pickford because he's fucking garbage. Who's the one? I now I'm like flubbing on the names. You might have to just give me the third one because now I can't even remember names of guys I want to guess.
Alisson Becker.
Yeah.
From Tottenham. So Ramsdale, 69 million pounds.
Alisson is Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
You said Tottenham.
Well, he has a Tottenham jersey on.
What?
Unless it's old. Alisson Becker. You know Prem better than I.
No chance he's played for.
Oh, Liverpool, my bad. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
It was super small. They both have that bird thing. It's super
I was about to say, but yeah, okay. All right. I was Ramsdale and Donnarumma.
Aaron Ramsdale, 69 million euros. Donnarumma, 79 million euros. And Becker, 67 million euros. Those are your top 3 highest valuable goalkeepers in transfer value in the world.
Interesting.
So you got 2 out of 3. Not bad. But yeah, I think it'd be cool. We do some more of those fun things. Yeah. But anyways, we'll end the episode here. I want to thank everybody for listening and check out all social media platforms, as well as check out our future podcast and clips. But anyways, we will see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.